Across the vast expanse of the Orion Arm, no species had ever witnessed such a catastrophic miscalculation. Commander Zextal of the Vardarian science vessel Eternal Seeker stood motionless on the bridge, his four eyes fixed on the holographic display before him. The supposedly primitive human defense system had just disabled half of his research fleet in less than 3 minutes. "Impossible," he whispered, his scaled skin shifting from its normal iridescent blue to a pale gray of distress. Their technological level was assessed at grade C. This is beyond anything we've encountered." The Eternal Seeker shuddered as another wave of electromagnetic pulses washed over its hull. Around him, his crew worked frantically to maintain their failing shields, their movements becoming increasingly desperate as system after system began to fail. "Commander," his second-in-command, Lieutenant Nara, called out, her voice tight with tension. "We're detecting unusual energy signatures from the lunar surface. They're not matching any known weapons profiles in our database." Zextal's antennae twitched in frustration. The mission had been simple. Observe the humans' primitive orbital defenses, gather data on their technological capabilities, and return to the Vardarian High Council with recommendations for future contact. No one had expected the humans to detect their cloaked vessels, let alone respond with such devastating precision. "Show me," he ordered, and the holographic display shifted to reveal the surface of Earth's moon. What he saw made his heart stop. Dozens of structures were emerging from the lunar surface, unfolding like enormous metallic flowers. They had been there all along, perfectly camouflaged, waiting. "By the first sun," Lieutenant Nara breathed. "Those installations, they're completely integrated with the natural terrain. We've been scanning that moon for days and saw nothing." The humans had done the impossible. They had turned their entire moon into a weapons platform, and the Vardarian fleet had sailed right into their trap. A new signal cut through their communications, crystal clear despite their best encryption. The voice that spoke was calm, almost casual, but carried an undertone of steel that made Zextal's scales ripple with primal fear. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered restricted space without authorization. Your vessels are now under our control. Any attempt to engage your drives or weapon systems will result in immediate neutralization." Zextal looked at his tactical display in disbelief. Somehow, the humans had matched the quantum frequency of their shields. They weren't just disabled. They were completely locked out of their own ship's systems. "How did they know?" one of his junior officers whispered. "The cloaking technology. It's supposed to be perfect." A bitter laugh escaped Zextal's throat. "Perfect against what we know. But them." He gestured to the blue-green planet hanging in space before them. "Look at their world. Harsh radiation, extreme temperature variations, crushing atmospheric pressure. They evolved in conditions that would kill most species. Did we really think they wouldn't develop detection systems just as adaptable as they are?" The ship's sensors continued to record everything, documenting their complete humiliation for posterity. The humans hadn't just defeated them. They had done it without firing a single destructive shot. Pure defensive technology turned into an offensive masterpiece. "Commander," Nara reported, her voice shaking slightly, "I'm detecting additional human vessels emerging from inside their planet's oceans. They're rising into orbit, surrounding us completely." The ships that appeared were unlike anything in their database. Some seemed to be made of materials that barely registered on their sensors, while others appeared to be deliberately crude, as if the humans were playing with different technological approaches simultaneously. Admiral Chen's voice came through again. "We will now begin boarding operations. Your cooperation will determine whether your vessels return home intact. Remember this moment, Commander. Remember that we could have destroyed you, but chose not to. That is humanity's first and only warning." As Zextal watched the human boarding ships approach, he realized he was witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. The humans hadn't just defended themselves. They had turned defense itself into an art form. They had weapons that didn't destroy, technology that didn't follow conventional rules, and a strategy that emphasized control over destruction. "Send a final transmission to the High Council," he ordered, his voice heavy with the weight of his responsibility. Message begins. The humans are not what we thought. They are not primitive, they are not predictable, and they are not to be underestimated. They have turned their harsh world into a fortress and their limitations into advantages. Do not follow us. Do not attempt rescue. Above all, do not mistake their mercy for weakness. We will return with knowledge paid for in pride and presumption. The price of curiosity, it seems, is humility. As the human boarding parties prepared to dock with his vessel, Zextal understood that this encounter would change galactic society forever. Humanity had just announced its presence on the cosmic stage, not with violence or conquest, but with a demonstration of such technological and tactical superiority that no species could ignore it. The Eternal Seeker's lights flickered as the human boarding teams cut through their airlocks with impossible precision. In those final moments before first direct contact, Zextal realized that the humans had taught them all a valuable lesson. True power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the choice not to. 3 cycles had passed since the Eternal Seeker's encounter with humanity, yet the galaxy remained in turmoil. In the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Security Council, Supreme Admiral Krevan of the Arcturian Empire stood before representatives of 17 spacefaring civilizations, his tentacles rippling with barely contained rage. "The humans must be contained," he thundered, his bioluminescent patches flashing crimson. "While we debate, they continue to fortify their systems with technology that defies our understanding. My fleet's recent reconnaissance mission confirmed our worst fears." The holographic display in the center of the chamber activated, showing the devastating defeat of the Arcturian 7th Fleet. The assembled representatives watched in stunned silence as human vessels seemed to materialize from empty space, their weapons already locked on critical systems before the Arcturian ships could even raise their shields. 37 warships, Krevan continued, his voice dropping to a whisper. "The pride of our fleet, reduced to drifting hulks in less than 10 minutes. And do you know what the humans did next? They repaired our ships, provided medical care to our crews, and sent us home with a message. Stay out of our space." Ambassador Lix of the Selvarian Collective rose from her crystalline seat, her faceted body refracting light across the chamber. "Perhaps that is precisely what we should do, Supreme Admiral. The humans have shown no interest in expansion. They defend their territory with remarkable efficiency, yes, but they've never once attacked beyond their borders. And what happens when they decide to expand?" Krevan challenged. "What happens when they turn their ingenious defenses into weapons of conquest?" A new voice cut through the debate, quiet but commanding. All eyes turned to Elder Tizak of the Mindweavers, one of the oldest spacefaring races. The ancient being's translucent form shimmed as it spoke. "You fundamentally misunderstand the humans," Tizak said, its thoughts resonating directly in their minds. "We have been observing them since they first split the atom. Their greatest innovations, their most remarkable achievements, all stem from one primary drive: survival." The Elder activated its own dataset, showing historical footage of human development. "Look at their history. Every major technological leap was driven by necessity. Their medical advances came from healing their wounded. Their space technology evolved from exploring their own harsh world. Even their weapons were originally tools adapted for defense." The chamber erupted in overlapping discussions until Ambassador Lix raised her crystalline appendage. "Elder Tizak, are you suggesting that humanity's current defensive capabilities are merely the latest iteration of their survival instinct?" "Yes," Tizak confirmed. "They don't seek to conquer. They seek to ensure their survival by making any attack against them too costly to contemplate." Supreme Admiral Krevan's bioluminescence pulsed with skepticism. "Then explain their quantum phase technology. Explain how they've managed to create weapons that bypass our strongest shields as if they weren't there." "Gladly," Tizak replied. "When the first alien probe entered their system 50 years ago, humanity realized they were not alone. Instead of reaching out, they watched, learned, and prepared. They studied the probe's energy signatures and developed countermeasures. They didn't know who might come or what intentions they might have, so they prepared for everything. The Elders' form brightened as it continued. Their ships seem to appear from nowhere because they exist partially out of phase with normal spacetime. Their weapons bypass our shields because they operate on principles we never considered. They turned their entire solar system into an early warning network so sophisticated that it registers the quantum fluctuations of cloaked ships. And the repairs to our vessels. Krevan demanded. The medical care for our crews. A message, Tizak said simply. They want us to know that they have mastered both destruction and creation. They can break our strongest defenses or repair our most grievous damages. The choice is theirs, and it depends entirely on our actions. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just developed advanced technology. They had fundamentally changed the rules of space warfare. They had turned their entire region of space into a fortress that could not be breached without their permission. Ambassador Lix's crystalline form sparkled as she processed this information. Then what do you suggest, Elder? How do we proceed with a species that has made itself virtually untouchable? Tizak's form pulsed gently. We respect their boundaries. We learn from their example. And most importantly, we recognize that humanity's greatest weapon isn't their technology. It's their perspective. They don't think like us because they can't afford to. Their world taught them to be ready for anything, to survive against any odds. They'd brought that same mindset to space. As the Galactic Security Council concluded its session, a new protocol was established. Human space was to be designated as a restricted zone, not out of fear, but out of respect for a species that had turned the art of defense into something approaching perfection. The humans, meanwhile, continued their silent vigil, their sensor networks tracking every ship that approached their borders, their quantum phase factories producing technologies that defied conventional understanding, their very existence a reminder that sometimes the strongest position isn't the ability to conquer, but the capability to make conquest impossible. The research facility, deep within Europa's ice sheets, hummed with activity as Dr. Elena Martinez studied the holographic display before her. The captured Arcturian technology floated in suspended animation, its alien circuitry laid bare by quantum scanning beams. What had started as a defensive measure had evolved into something far more profound. "Play it again," she commanded, and the AI system replayed the moment when human phase shift technology had first interfaced with the alien systems. The resulting cascade of energy signatures was unlike anything they had ever seen. "Remarkable," muttered Dr. Chen Wei, her colleague and head of the Hybrid Technologies Division. "Their quantum matrices are adapting to our modifications in real time. It's almost as if they were designed to evolve." Elena finished. But that's just it. They weren't. We're witnessing something entirely new. The merger of their technology with ours is creating possibilities neither species had conceived of. The captured Arcturian ships had provided humanity with an unprecedented opportunity. Instead of merely studying alien technology, they had begun a process of true technological synthesis. Human phase shift drives combined with Arcturian quantum matrices had yielded propulsion systems that could traverse space in ways that defied conventional physics. Above them, through the kilometers of ice, Earth's new defense fleet was being born. Ships that incorporated both human ingenuity and alien advancement, but with a distinctly terrestrial philosophy at their core. "Director Walsh is here," announced the AI, and both scientists straightened as their superior entered the laboratory. Sarah Walsh, once a field commander and now the head of Earth's Technological Integration Program, carried herself with the same intensity that had made her legendary during the first contact incidents. "Show me what you found," she said without preamble, her eyes fixed on the holographic display. Elena gestured, and the display expanded to show the full scope of their discoveries. The Arcturian technology wasn't just compatible with ours, it was complementary. Their focus on quantum manipulation perfectly dovetails with our phase shift research. But here's the fascinating part. When we integrate the two, we get something greater than the sum of its parts. Walsh nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. Explain. Dr. Chen stepped forward, his hands moving through the hologram to highlight specific sections. Their ships rely on quantum predictability, the ability to calculate and manipulate quantum states with perfect precision. Our phase shift technology, on the other hand, embraces quantum uncertainty. When we combine them, we get ships that can exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously while maintaining perfect control over each state. Elena finished. It's like having a vessel that can be everywhere and nowhere, solid and intangible, all at once. Walsh's eyes narrowed. The defensive implications. Revolutionary, Elena replied. We can create defense systems that don't just react to threats. They exist in a state of perpetual readiness across multiple quantum realities. An attacking force wouldn't just have to defeat our defenses. They'd have to defeat every possible version of our defenses simultaneously. The display shifted to show test results from their prototype systems. Alien weapons, no matter how advanced, couldn't hit what existed in multiple quantum states at once. Human ships equipped with the new hybrid technology could phase through any attack while maintaining perfect combat effectiveness. There's more, Dr. Chen added. The Arcturians' quantum matrices have given us insight into their entire technological framework. We're not just adapting their technology. We're understanding the fundamental principles behind all known alien tech. Every piece of alien technology we encounter becomes another piece in our defensive puzzle. Walsh was silent for a long moment, processing the implications. And the aliens? Have they realized what we're doing with their technology? Elena shook her head. That's the beauty of it. They can't comprehend how we're achieving these results because they're still thinking in linear terms. They see technology as a progression from point A to point B. We're thinking in 3 dimensions, combining technologies in ways they never imagined possible. It's the human factor, Dr. Chen explained. Our history of adapting to survive, of taking different approaches and combining them in new ways. We're applying that same principle to technological development. While they perfect single technologies, we're creating hybrid systems that shouldn't work but do. Walsh walked to the observation window, looking out at the vast testing chamber, where prototype ships hovered in various states of quantum flux. How long until the new defense grid is ready? The first phase is already operational, Elena reported. Every human settlement from Earth to our furthest colony is now protected by quantum phase shields. Any attack would have to succeed in multiple quantum realities simultaneously to breach them. And our offensive capabilities. Dr. Chen's expression grew serious. We're maintaining our defensive posture. These advances are incredible, but we're using them to make our space impossible to attack, not to threaten others. The best weapon is one you never have to fire. Walsh nodded approvingly. Good. Humanity didn't come this far by seeking conquest. We came this far by making ourselves too difficult to conquer. She turned back to face them. Continue your work. Keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. The galaxy needs to understand that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to take what we learn and transform it into something new. As Walsh left the facility, Elena returned to her work, knowing that somewhere out in space, alien civilizations were still trying to understand how humanity had turned their own technology against them. They would never guess that the answer lay not in superior science, but in humanity's unique ability to adapt, combine, and innovate in ways that defied conventional logic. The future of human defense would not be built on overwhelming force, but on the elegant integration of all available knowledge, transformed by human ingenuity into something the galaxy had never seen before. The Galactic Assembly had never witnessed such chaos. Representatives from over 30 spacefaring civilizations argued frantically as reports flooded in from across known space. The Swarm, a newly discovered hostile species from the galactic core, had begun an aggressive expansion that threatened everyone. High Chancellor Vex of the Arcturian Empire, his bioluminescence pulsing with stress, addressed the assembly. The swarm has already consumed 3 systems. Their biological ships adapt to any weapon we use. Our most advanced fleets. He paused, mandibles clicking in distress. They were rendered obsolete within hours. The massive holographic display showed the swarm's advance, a tide of biomechanical horror consuming everything in its path. Traditional alliances and defensive pacts crumbled as each species scrambled to protect their own territories. Then, from the back of the chamber, a human voice cut through the pandemonium. "We will help." All eyes turned to Ambassador David Chen, Earth's representative to the assembly. He stood calmly, his weathered face showing no fear, only determination. "Humanity has watched this assembly debate for hours," he continued. "While you argue, colonies burn. While you point fingers, people die. This ends now." "And what can humans do?" demanded a Silverian representative, crystal form flickering with skepticism. "Your technology is formidable, yes, but you've never faced anything like the swarm." Chen smiled, but there was steel in his expression. "You're right. We haven't. But adaptation is what we do best, and we've been preparing for something like this since we first looked to the stars." The assembly chamber's displays suddenly shifted, showing a massive mobilization throughout human space. Shipyards hidden in gas giants sparked to life. Quantum phase facilities across a dozen systems activated simultaneously. But most surprisingly, human ships were already moving, not away from the swarm, but toward it. "Impossible," whispered High Chancellor Vex. "Those formations, you've been preparing for this specific threat." "No," Chen replied. "We've been preparing for every threat. Humanity learned long ago that the universe is far more dangerous than we could imagine. So we imagined everything. Every scenario, every possible threat. The swarm is just one of the thousands of contingencies we planned for." The displays showed human vessels engaging the swarm's outer tendrils. Where other species' weapons had failed, human quantum phase technology proved devastating. Ships existing in multiple states simultaneously couldn't be adapted to because there was no single strategy to adapt to. "But we're not here to fight your battles," Chen continued. "We're here to show you how to fight them yourselves. Humanity extends an open invitation to any species willing to join us. We will share our technology, our strategies, and our resolve. Together, we can stop the swarm." The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Humanity, the species that had zealously guarded its technological secrets, was offering to share everything. "Why?" demanded the Silverian representative. "Why now?" "Because this isn't about survival anymore," Chen answered. "It's about progress. The swarm adapts to individual species' technologies. But what happens when they face the combined innovations of 30 different civilizations, all working together in ways they never imagined possible? Over the next few hours, something unprecedented happened. Species that had been rivals for millennia found themselves fighting side by side. Human quantum phase technology merged with Arcturian energy weapons. Silverian crystal ships were retrofitted with human phase drives. The combined fleet that emerged was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The swarm encountered this unified force at the Battle of Nexus Point. They faced not just advanced technology, but the combined tactical knowledge of dozens of species, each contributing their unique perspective and capabilities. Human adaptability proved to be the key that united these disparate approaches into an unstoppable force. As the battle raged, Ambassador Chen stood in the command center of the human flagship, Resilience, watching as the impossible unfolded. Species that had once feared and distrusted each other were now fighting as one, their strengths complementing each other in ways that even humanity hadn't foreseen. "You knew this would happen," High Chancellor Vex observed, standing beside him. "You weren't just preparing for threats. You were preparing to unite us." Chen nodded slowly. "Humanity learned early that our greatest strength isn't in our weapons or our technology. It's in our ability to bring different ideas together, to find connections others miss. We didn't perfect one approach. We learned to combine all approaches. The swarm, for all its adaptive capability, couldn't counter an enemy that fought with the combined innovation of the entire galaxy. Each time it adapted to one strategy, the unified fleet would shift to another, using combinations of technologies that defied conventional logic. As the last of the swarm vessels were eliminated, a new era of galactic cooperation was born. Humanity had done more than help defeat a common enemy. They had shown the galaxy that true strength lies not in individual power, but in the ability to unite and adapt together. In the aftermath of the Swarm War, the Great Hall of Records on New Terra hosted an unusual gathering. Representatives from across the galaxy had come to witness the archival of what many now called the Human Revelation. At the center of the hall stood Fleet Admiral James Chen, grandson of the legendary Ambassador David Chen, preparing to address the assembly of young diplomats and military officers from 24 species. The ancient hall, its walls lined with quantum crystal displays, showing humanity's journey from a single world to a cornerstone of galactic civilization, fell silent as Chen began to speak. 50 years ago, the galaxy learned a lesson about humanity that changed everything, he said, his voice carrying easily through the vast chamber. But it wasn't the lesson most think it was. The displays shifted, showing footage from humanity's first contact with the Vardarians, the Arcturian confrontation, and finally, the Swarm War, each image a testament to how far they'd all come. Many believe humanity's strength lies in our technology, in our quantum phase drives, or our adaptive defense systems. Others think it's our strategic mind or our ability to unite different species. They're all wrong. Chen's eyes swept the chamber. Our true strength has always been our perspective. He gestured, and the displays showed Earth, storms raging across its surface, volcanoes erupting, ice ages coming and going. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. We survived not because we were the strongest or the fastest, but because we learned to think differently. When you can't overpower a threat, you learn to outthink it. The images shifted to show human history, cave paintings giving way to written language, steam engines evolving into starships. Every major advancement in human history came not from having the best tools, but from finding new ways to use what we had. We turned our weaknesses into strengths, our limitations into advantages. But here's what the galaxy really needs to understand, Chen continued, his voice growing more intense. We never sought to conquer because we were too busy trying to survive. We never aimed to dominate because we were too focused on protecting what we had. The paradox of humanity is that our greatest defensive innovations came from our desire to avoid conflict. The displays now showed the integrated fleets of the modern galaxy, human ships flying alongside alien vessels, sharing technology and tactics that would have been unimaginable a generation ago. Look around you, Chen gestured to the assembled representatives. Every species here has something unique to offer. The Arcturians' mastery of quantum mechanics, the Selvarians' crystal tech, the Vardarian understanding of biological computing. Alone, each is powerful. Together, combined with human ingenuity, they become something more. He paused, letting his words sink in. That's the real warning humanity offers the galaxy. Not that we're too dangerous to attack, but that we'll never stop finding new ways to defend what matters. We'll never stop adapting, combining, evolving. And most importantly, we'll never stop sharing what we learn with those who choose to stand with us. The displays showed one final image, Earth, as seen from space, beautiful and dangerous, nurturing and harsh. Our world taught us that survival isn't about being the strongest. It's about being the most adaptable. It's about turning every challenge into an opportunity, every setback into a stepping stone. So remember this, Chen concluded, his voice carrying the weight of generations of human experience. If you ever find yourself facing humanity in conflict, you won't just be fighting our weapons or our ships. You'll be fighting against every lesson our harsh world taught us, every innovation we've created, every alliance we forge. But if you choose to stand with humanity, you'll find that same ingenuity, that same adaptability, working tirelessly in your defense. As the assembly concluded, the young representatives left with a new understanding. The legend of humanity's power had evolved into something more profound, a testament to what was possible when survival gave way to cooperation, when defense became an art form, and when the drive to protect became the catalyst for unprecedented unity. In the centuries that followed, the galaxy would remember this truth. Humanity's greatest achievement wasn't in becoming untouchable, but in showing others how to rise alongside them. Their legacy wasn't one of fear or dominance, but of transformation, teaching the galaxy that true strength lies not in the power to destroy, but in the wisdom to adapt, unite, and protect. The human warning remained, carved into the consciousness of every spacefaring race. Challenge humanity, and you face not just their weapons, but their unyielding spirit, their endless innovation, and their absolute commitment to defending what they hold dear. But stand with humanity, and you gain not just an ally, but a teacher, a partner in the endless dance of cosmic survival and growth.